I'm Kristen Oakes-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Agriculture is a $13 billion a year industry for the state of Louisiana, according to the Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain.
And at the latest stop on Dr. Strain's and Governor John Bel Edwards' agriculture listening tour, the two statewide elected officials heard from farmers in sugarcane country that they need roads and workers.
With a backdrop of green harvesters and equipment on Al Hebert's sugarcane farm in Iberville Parish, Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards and Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, make good on their promise to meet with farmers and ranchers representing every Louisiana commodity.
Really, we are here to listen. And this is where we, again, get an understanding of what the issues are, and we take all of that and we start working into the next legislative sessions.
Both Strain and Edwards know the value of Louisiana sugarcane, more than $1 billion, and coming off of a record year.
Sugarcane farmers in Louisiana, they know what they're doing, but the reason they're so good is because of that research that comes out of the LSU Ag Center, for example, with the support from the sugarcane farmers themselves. But that's one of the reasons why it's important that we stabilize funding for higher education, because it's only the state general fund component to higher education that actually supports the Ag Center.
Louisiana Farm Bureau board member Warren Harang uses the opportunity to speak with Edwards and Strain about roads and the need for a reliable guest worker program.
Well, I think those are very important issues to the sugar industry. Infrastructure with our transportation systems, road to markets, are extremely important. Immigration is not only very important to the sugar industry, but all of agriculture, all of Louisiana agriculture. We cannot operate without a very definite, concrete immigration program. And both the governor and the commissioner are in tune to that, and they do everything they can to help us.
Governor John Bel Edwards also fielded questions from reporters about tariffs placed on soybeans by China. Edwards said there is not much the state could do because it is a federal and international issue, but you know what? He was really interested in what they had to say as far as statewide issues. They even brought up the question, I should say they, it should be Commissioner Mike Strain brought up the question of would they be willing to pay a gasoline tax or any other tax to pay for road and infrastructure changes. Not a whole lot of response, but I know that they were taking things in. What I also thought was interesting, this was probably the fewest questions at any of the stops on the listening tour, and I think it's because they weren't in the middle of a special session.
Right.
You know, when you don't have a session, fewer questions come out.
I did see that he wrote a letter to President Trump about the tariffs and how much it would impact Louisiana agriculture, which I thought was excellent on his part. The news article that I saw, I wanted to read the actual letter, but couldn't find it. So
I'm sure it's on the website. If you go and look at the governor's website, you'll find it there.
We'll have to find it. Well, USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue announced $12 billion in relief to farmers suffering under the so-called trade war with China. The funding will come through the Commodity Credit Corporation, meaning it will not need congressional approval to go through.
The funds will be distributed three ways: direct farm payments, purchase of farm products, and promotion of U.S. ag products to other countries. The move seems to be an indication that the tariffs are here to stay for the foreseeable future. The program is tentatively scheduled to begin on Labor Day. If you've been down Airline Highway in Laplace, you've seen a lot of signs for businesses crop up in the last 60 years. There's one, though, that stands out from the rest, and it even rotates.
Twila's Neil Melanson takes us for a burger and a root beer at Frostop this week, where they're sticking with their sweet roots.
Among all the signs you'll see on Airline Highway in Laplace, one stands above the rest.
Back in the 50s when it came to this area, I think a lot of the Frostops in the northern states did not have them. Really special in the New Orleans area.
It's been there for 60 years, welcoming customers with a taste of something special. The Frostop in Laplace has outlived most of its sister restaurants. There are only 12 left in the U.S. The Toller family has been running the store since 1973 and credits part of its longevity to their hands-on approach.
People, I think, like to go to a business where the owners are there. They know if, number one, if it's going to be done right, And if it's not, we're going to try to handle it.
Jim's daughter Terry is also one of the owners, and like her dad, she's here every day. The pair have a great relationship, and like any family, they like to have fun.
She likes to clean since 9 years old.
I first started working when I was 9.
She has really been running it for the last 20 years. I mean, she does everything for us. She does the buying, she does payroll, comes up with a menu improvements and changes.
Another thing Terry does is make the famous Frostop root beer. It's made each week using one local ingredient in particular.
Water to here, 116 pounds of good cane sugar to here, and then root beer concentrate finishes it off.
It's a mixture that stirs a lot of loyalty.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Reed St. Pierre is usually first in line here. When you ask him how often he comes in,
Every day.
it's not hard to see why. Reed isn't just a regular, he's one of the guys who makes the sugar for the root beer. In fact, here's the famous Frostop sign, and right down the road here on Airline, this is the start of Reed's sugarcane fields, which surround the restaurant.
This cane right here, especially this cane, this is some good land right here on back of the Frostop.
Each day during the planting and harvest seasons, he orders Frostop for himself and his workers, Cameron Whittington and Elroy Easom. Their lunch table is the shop's fans, and they don't seem to mind the routine.
The burgers. The burgers. Juicy.
Good.
The root beer even better.
It's a pretty sweet gig making the sugar that makes the root beer you drink every day. But it's not just the food that keeps bringing these guys back, it's a sense of community. Reed's dad started taking him here in 1972, the year before the Tollers took over from Jim's father-in-law, who started Frostop in 1958.
That's good people that own the Frostop. You don't find better people than that, man.
It's pretty clear the people are the chief ingredient that has kept the Frostop open for 60 years here, and hopefully for at least 60 more.
Frostop will have a 60th anniversary party on Saturday, August 2nd from 2 to 6 p.m. They will be featuring classic cars, a DJ, and of course, the coldest root beer in town. And guys, this was just a fun story to do, but it was also just a great connection between, the sugar that's produced and the people that consume it. And you can see it in one image, which I just thought was amazing. You have this guy who goes to Frostop every single day, and his field is literally right next door. In fact, you see on Airline Highway, there's some businesses in between his field and Frostop, but actually his sugarcane runs behind the store. Oh, so wow. It's all in there. And he's just one of these great local guys. You can see the community interaction. You can see just how much the people appreciate one another.
Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but how was the root beer float?
The root beer was really, really good. Both Allie, our intern, went with us and went with me, and she was just enamored with the root beer itself. She got the actual hamburger. I got a po' boy.
Oh,
and
okay.
we both had a great meal there. The root beer, though, is just, it doesn't taste like anything else.
It's the best. And it is so cold. I used to stop at the one downtown all the time.
Oh, right, Government Street in Baton Rouge. Yep.
It's addictive. I think it has crack cocaine in it or something.
It does have a white powder in it. That's the sugar, and that's it comes right from
not
the field.
The same thing.
And they make as you could see, they put the mugs in the cooler there, and so they're always just ice cold. And it's 20 ounces, and the whole time it stayed cold, even though there was no ice in it, which I think really makes a difference because you don't have that watering down the whole time.
It's so good.
Man. Now,
so jealous.
You're gonna make me go to Frostop for lunch.
You really should go on Saturday during their anniversary party. I think it'll be a really good time.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Neil Malasaw.
Well, if you want to shop locally for something sweet or just to get the freshest fruits, vegetables, and meats available, the best place to go is your local farmers market.
Yeah, there are more than 24 farmers markets across Louisiana, and many will have special celebrations for Farmers Market Week. National Farmers Market Week is August 5th through the 11th. Louisiana Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, Dr. Mike Strain, says farmers markets are a great place to meet the women and men who grow the food we eat and also to get the freshest produce available.
Come out and really shop your farmers market. When you shop your farmers market, not only do you get the very freshest product and the healthiest product for you and your family, you also help the local economy. These are local farmers, and it's straight from the farm to you. So when you talk about a farmer's market, it just doesn't get any more natural and local than this. Buy fresh, buy local, shop at your farmer's market, stop at a roadside stand, a farm near you, the local section of the grocery store, or whenever possible, grow it in your own backyard. You can grow a lot in a little space. You know, we grow tomatoes in my home, and we grow them in pots all around the house. So both as ornamentals, but also with tomatoes, and you can get a lot of information from the LSU and Southern Ag Centers. Our county agents will help you. All you have to do is call. There's a lot of information. But in a small area in your backyard, you don't have to have a great big garden to make a lot of produce, and it's a lot of fun.
To find a farmer's market near you, just visit our website at twilatv.org, and we'll link you over to a big old list of them. According to the USDA, farmers planted more than 400,000 acres of rice in Louisiana this year. Researchers at the LSU Ag Center say this crop could break a trend of less than ideal yields for rice farmers.
This year, farmers are a little behind schedule starting to harvest their crops, but those with combines already in the field are feeling good so far.
My name's Alan McLean Jr. I farm rice, soybeans, and crawfish in Vermilion Parish. Between me, my dad, and my brother, we're about 2,100 acres of rice. So far, the yields have been very good. The conditions of the ground are actually better than we expected. We caught a little dry spell, so the ground is drying very well. We're not rutting it up for a ratoon crop. We're actually a little later than what we normally start.
I'm Michael Fruget, farm in St. Landry Parish, just north of Eunice, with my dad Raymond Fruget. We farm rice and soybeans, about 1,400 acres of rice and 1,400 acres of beans. Last year we started harvest on July 13th. Today was our first day, July 23rd. Put us 10 days later. I think a lot of it has to do with the cold weather that we had earlier in the year, which we really felt at that time that it was going to set us back. I think the potential is there. The crop is there. We had really good growing conditions. We had warm weather. Later on, it was dry for most of the reproductive stage, and then also the temperatures have been really, really high.
While we have good weather, we're trying to get in the fields and do everything that we can, and that's a plus. Not rutting it up, and hopefully we can have a ratoon crop.
We rely 100% on second crop because we don't have crawfish, so we like to ratoon everything we grow. And it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do that this year just because the harvest is going to get too late. Overall, I think this could be above average crop just because of the growing conditions we had.
Everybody's been saying everything's been real good. Everybody's been pleased that I've heard. So, I mean, it's hoping to turn out to be a pretty good year.
McLean and Fruget say that by next week they should be wide open harvesting their rice, and they'll each move to beans and then hopefully back to rice for their second crop later this fall.
Still to come on Twila, bridging the gap between farmers and consumers.
But first we see the forest and the trees with agri-science teachers from across the state. Stay with us.
Before you sweeten your morning joe, before the icing on the cake, before the sugar hits the shelf, it begins with a family of sugarcane farmers dedicated to growing Louisiana for more than 220 years. The Sugarcane Growers of Louisiana, making life sweeter, naturally.
Sugarcane, sweet sugarcane.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are. Put a Dorito on here.
I got a fish, I got a fish.
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. Financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
Farming is my way of life. I chose this career, but farming chose me.
A lot of people ask you what you do, and I tell them I'm a farmer.
I'm a cattleman.
I am a fisherman.
I'm a scientist.
I'm a steward of the land.
I am a farm woman.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am a Farm Bureau.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know. Come alive with the forest. The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
This week, about 150 ag teachers from across the state met in Vidalia for the Louisiana Agri-Science Teachers Association Conference.
There, teachers had the opportunity to explore various ag industries, network with other educators, and learn some new skills that they can take back to their own classrooms. And some of those teachers hiked deep into the woods of the Natchez State Park to test their forestry skills in the LEAF exam, or otherwise known as the Louisiana Examination of Advanced Forestry. This program will allow teachers to offer hands-on training and specialized coursework to help their students gain the skills to excel in a forestry-based career. For the first time ever, Louisiana Ag students will now have the chance to earn an industry-based certification in forestry, the state's top ag industry.
Oh, it's educational. I'm out here with professionals and just collaborate with other teachers, but it pushes me. There's a lot of things that we've covered today that you know, I had touched on a little bit before, but I've never really delved into it, using a wedge prism and some of the forestry tools, calculating or kind of some of the problems we were going through earlier, calculating what a logger would go through when he was bidding out a job, things like that. It pushes me. Anything that pushes me to learn more, you know, obviously is good for my students as well.
According to the Louisiana Department of Ag and Forestry, the timber industry contributes nearly $4 billion to the Louisiana economy each year. To learn more about the Forestry Industry Certification Program, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Summer camps for young people can often create a sense of discovery in growing minds.
As Twila's AJ Sabine shows us, making those discoveries through agriculture is the goal of the LSU Ag Center's Nature Summer Camp.
With boundless energy on a warm summer's day, campers explore the anatomy of a fish.
See those little squiggly things?
Camp organizer Kiki Fontenot explains that in its first year, this nature camp introduces agriculture to these young people.
And we're trying to encourage kids to be outside and enjoy being outside. So that's really the theme of all of this, is we want young kids, and these are kids entering 2nd grade through entering 5th grade, to just come to camp, play outside all day.
Back at the pavilion, a frozen fish reveals his biology via microscope. Professor Brian LeBlanc says his campers love hands-on activities while they learn about water systems.
And they were able to see structures in that fish that they can't see with the naked eye. And most children, in fact many adults that don't fish, don't clean and dissect their fish before they eat them. There's a lot of organs and structures in there people don't see, don't know what they do.
Fascination abounds as campers find a fish of their own at the Burden Center's ponds. For these kids, this camp is all about, well, doing stuff.
Tree climbing and just playing around. Climbing trees and counting how old trees were. Hiking, making fishing poles, well, everything.
Fontenot says this camp gets kids outside and also gets them into agriculture.
They actually suited up in arborist equipment and they climbed up 30 feet into a tree and they learned about trees. They looked at leaf structures and they painted those leaves on t-shirts and that kind of thing.
That's the kind of thing that's fun during the summer. Agriculture. For This Week of Louisiana Agriculture, I'm AJ Sabine.
The week-long LSU Ag Center Nature Summer Camp engages children with nature through art, science experiments, hiking, and more. For more information about next year's camp, log on to our website at twilatv.org. Well, still to come on Twila, we're going to bridge the knowledge gap.
We'll show you the way some crops are presented doesn't always match up with reality. Stay with us.
Landowners are minding the Louisiana forest for our grandchildren. A place for wildlife, recreation, lumber for homes. It's the right thing to do. Forestry, covering half our state, all of our hearts.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program, and you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
I am a giant panda bear loving bamboo. I almost went extinct, but I'm not because of you.
I am a ground squirrel, I almost was too. If it wasn't for the help of the San Diego Zoo.
How about you join us?
Save a desert tortoise.
We need your help to bring species back, so bring us back from the brink of extinction. Bring us back from the brink of extinction. I am a bring us back from the brink of extinction. California, bring us back from the brink of extinction.
And desert tortoise.
Before we leave you, we have a special edition of our Twila Boost.
At the start of every show, we tell you our mission, to bring Louisiana farmers and consumers together. It's a really tough thing to do because only about 1% of U.S. citizens are actively engaged in production agriculture, compared to about 50% at the beginning of the last century.
So how do we bridge that gap between farmers and consumers? How do we show you the reality of how your food is produced versus what a few radical opponents want you to believe? These are the questions that we strive to answer every single week.
My partner Kristen recently dug a little deeper into this issue by asking several Louisiana farmers what they want you to know, and she put together this video. The video has more than 167,000 views on Facebook and 2,000 shares.
We hope this week's Twila Boost helps to bridge that gap.
Monsanto has drawn hundreds out onto the streets here in New York City.
Farming is a lifestyle. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle. It's something that I believe we all take pride in what we do. We work hard, work a lot of hours, put a lot of our life into this industry.
I would like for someone who's purchasing crawfish to realize that it's not an easy product to grow, but a lot of love goes into getting the crawfish from the pond to the market.
I would just like to think that every time someone takes a bite of food that they would think about that.
A lot of people think that you run a planter down, put it in the ground, you come back a few months later, you cut it, and then you're done, you make a lot of money. And there's not near as much money as it used to be. You know, our income's been almost cut in half, and it's a lot of work put into it.
We're used to working 15-hour days, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. Oil field people say they work 7 and 7. I say I do too. I work 7 days one week, then I work 7 days the next week. It's just the financial stress. And they make it worthwhile. You work every day all year long, and then you start running out of money, or you're running short on money. It takes a bigger toll than anything.
I wish they understood the risk that farmers take. We have no control over the weather. We risk everything every year to produce a crop to satisfy the needs of the American consumer.
When somebody picks up that little packet of sugar and opens it up, they really should have an understanding that it took a lot of hard work and sweat from farmers and their employees that may be local employees or may be employees that's come here from out of country to put that sugar that's pretty and white on our table for us to enjoy.
The farmer today puts his whole life into raising that. Everything revolves around that product. He plans his life around it, his kids, his wife, everything he does is revolved around that. And he's going to do his very best to raise the best that he can for you, for the consumer.
I would say, most people don't realize the technology that goes and the science behind agriculture. The way it's evolved over the last 20, 30 years. So many people these days are, 2 or 3 generations removed to the farm, and it's just a completely different animal. And the GPS technology we have these days, where we can change populations on seed, we can change fertilizer rates without the driver doing anything. The tractor, the software we have is going to do it on its own.
We do the best practices that we can to grow the food that we can. We want our land to last. We want to be sustainable, so that's how we farm. Everything we raise, we eat ourselves. I feed it to my family. I feed it to my children. It's safe. It's good.
I feel comfortable taking a head of this wheat right now, shelling it in my hand and eating it. So yeah, if I'm willing to do that myself, I would say yes, this crop is safe when it leaves here.
Baby chicks are brought to me when they're 4 hours old. A lot of time, money, and effort is spent in making that environment the ideal environment for that baby chick to get its first meal, get its first drink of water, and get its first breath of air. We monitor the air, we monitor the water quality, all in an effort to raise the healthiest chicken that we can raise. I have to think, I'm not feeding just my family. I'm producing at least 480,000 meals per flock. And I don't want anybody to eat something that's not healthy. And I think that's important for the public to look at it in that light.
You're able to go to the grocery store as a consumer. You're able to go to Walmart, you can go to Kroger, you can go to a local family market, but you have a choice. But that store is always full of food. No matter what you probably want today, it's going to be in a store in your neighborhood. I never want to see our country be like other countries have become over the years, where those store shelves are empty. There's no sense in us being dependent upon foreign food. When we can do it here, we do it better, we do it safe, we do it in abundant fashion that no one goes hungry in this country.